Hey everyone, it's attorney Bianca Jordan from brazenlegal.com. Thanks so much for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next one. Welcome to part 2 in my Immigration Nation Explained series. Today's video is going to be covering the intersection of immigration law and criminal law, which is an area of law that we lawyers refer to as crimmigration because of the merging. And a lot of people, when it comes to immigration law, a lot of people think that the immigration court system is criminal. And the reason is because, for one, a lot of immigrants end up in removal proceedings or deportation proceedings because of some criminal factor, whether it's a crime they committed that now has placed them in removal proceedings. Another reason why people think of immigration in a criminal context is because when you're detained by immigration, you're put in a detention facility, which is similar to a jail or prison, except not so much. So, when you're in an immigration detention facility, at least the ones that I've been to, the men and women are separated, and the men are typically in like a big room. They have bunk beds in a lot of situations, and the women can be placed in areas where it seems like it's kind of like a cell. So a lot of people do think of immigration and that whole system as a criminal one, but it's not. The immigration court system is civil and the criminal justice system is criminal. But they intersect a lot because depending on certain crimes you might commit, that makes you deportable. So I'll backtrack a little bit. There are a list of things that can kind of keep you out of the United States. Similarly, there's a list of things that can make you deportable, and a lot of them are crimes that you commit. So the intersection of criminal and immigration law comes into play when someone who is not a U.S. citizen has a criminal case that maybe is not dismissed or that doesn't go to trial and they're not found not guilty, and instead they get a conviction, and that kind of triggers something with immigration, and now you're in removal proceedings. So the significance of this is that a lot of criminal attorneys, at least back in the day, would have their clients plead guilty. So let's say you have a case and you have a public defender who probably has a really big caseload. It's not uncommon that a public defender, criminal attorney, will have their client plead guilty. Or in Massachusetts, for example, we have something called continuance without a finding, continued without a finding, or QWOF for short. And that is not a conviction per se. It's not really pleading guilty. It's kind of like, we're just going to move on. We're not going to say one way or another that you did what we're charging you with. We're kind of just leaving it in limbo and we're kind of moving on. So it's not a conviction for state purposes. Similarly, if you plead guilty in your state, that's not a conviction. However, for immigration purposes, it is. And depending on what the crime is, what the statute for that crime says, what the maximum possible sentence for that crime is, that could put you in a situation where now you are in removal proceedings because of that. And this is so important and this is so detrimental that back in 2010, the Supreme Court actually ruled that if your criminal attorney does not adequately advise you of the immigration consequences of pleading guilty, you may be able to go back to that state court and try to get that guilty plea overturned, because the rationale is, had you known that you could possibly get deported because you pled guilty, you probably would not have pled guilty. You probably would have rolled the dice and opted to go to trial to see if a jury would find you not guilty. So it's very important if you are not a US citizen, and I stress that because you can still end up in removal proceedings even if you have a green card. So let's say, for example, you plead guilty to domestic violence or you are found guilty of domestic violence and you have a green card. Domestic violence is one of those charges where if you plead guilty or if you're found guilty or otherwise have a conviction, that counts as a conviction for immigration purposes, and you can face deportation because of that. So if you are not a US citizen and you currently have any type of criminal case, whether it's still ongoing or you just got arrested or something, definitely speak with your criminal attorney to make sure that they adequately, that they fully understand that you have a different situation, you're not a US citizen, so that you do not want to plead guilty, or if you're going to plead guilty, that you want to make sure that pleading guilty won't impact your immigration status. It won't keep you from getting a green card. Let's say, for example, if you plead guilty to possession of like 50 grams of marijuana, that's enough to keep you from getting a green card. So you want to make sure that your criminal case is not going to impact your ability to get a green card or your ability to avoid deportation. It doesn't happen as much anymore because, again, the case I mentioned was from 2010. Before 2010, a lot of immigration lawyers, or rather, a lot of criminal lawyers, were not necessarily telling their clients that if you plead guilty, you could possibly end up deported, or if you plead guilty, you could possibly never get a green card because of that. But after that, a lot of criminal attorneys are advising their clients of the immigration consequences of pleading guilty, and a lot of states are actually requiring that as part of their training, that after they become attorneys, they have to actually attend classes to make sure that they understand the immigration consequences of certain crimes. So if you have a case, make sure that your criminal attorney understands that your situation is unique. You're not a US citizen, so you should not be pleading guilty unless absolutely necessary and or it won't impact your immigration case. And if you have any questions about how it might impact your immigration case, if you think maybe your attorney needs a little bit more guidance, definitely feel free to reach out to an immigration attorney. There are immigration attorneys that specifically specialize in this. It specializes in crimmigration law, where it's just the intersection of the two, where there are some lawyers that only handle immigration cases that deal with criminal, that also deal with a criminal component. So you want to make sure that you understand what's going on before you just plead guilty and end up in a situation where you are deported and or cannot get another immigration benefit like a green card. I hope you found this video helpful. Please visit brazenlegal.com to learn more about me and my law firm. And please don't forget to hit the bell to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next video in this series. Thanks for watching.